Well, he led Britain to victory over Adolf Hitler and the Axis powers during the Second World War and was an inspiration to all Allied forces, including the many Canadians fighting for our freedom. And now, more than 6 decades later, Sir Winston Churchill still has a massive following. His legacy and work as an author will be celebrated at a gala in Victoria next Saturday. Hudson Mack caught up with the evening's guest speaker, Ron Cohen.
Andrew, thank you. Major event coming up on June 12th as the Winston Churchill Society of Vancouver Island holds its annual gala event. It's at the Union Club. Later on, we'll tell you how you can still get tickets and exactly when and how to get there. But we are joined right now from our A studios in Ottawa by an expert on Sir Winston Churchill. He is a good friend of mine through our association on the Canadian Broadcast Standards Council, Ron Cohen. Ron, thank you for being here. You are indeed an expert. You are the author of a 3-volume bibliography of the writings of Sir Winston Churchill. Tell us a little bit about your fascination with the man.
Well, Hudson, it began back when I lived in England. When I say today to people that I attended his funeral, I think that people sometimes feel that probably I was more important than I was. I was just out in the streets of London along with thousands of other people and was exposed in that sense to Churchill at a very telling moment in the existence of the United Kingdom. And I started reading Churchill's books when I got back to Canada, and one thing led to another. And you know, he was a compelling writer. There aren't a lot of people who are in politics, particularly in leadership roles, who, like Churchill, win a Nobel Prize for literature. Not the Peace Prize, a prize for literature, which he did in 1953. He was so significant in the naval life of the country, indeed in the life of the country, that all the Prime Minister had to do when he was appointed to the Admiralty position in the Second World War was to send a cable out to the fleet that said, "Winston is back." That was it.
That's all they needed.
That's all they needed. He played a major role over those periods of time, and of course he had been to the Spanish-American War in Cuba in 1895, to the Boer War in 1899 and 1900. He was captured there and ultimately escaped, which really gave him his initial fame in the UK.
We, in our modern time, Ron, quote Churchill, many of us not even realizing that we are doing it. We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give is just one that many people don't even know that they should be attributing to him. Not just in his writings, but in his quips. So much of what he said is part of our modern lexicon today.
There's no question about that. And even such simple things as, the band Blood, Sweat, and Tears comes from the first speech that he made when he became the Prime Minister in May 1940, the first speech he made at the House, where he said, "I have nothing to give but blood, toil, tears, and sweat." It's just become, a part of the language. And there are so many things that he said that have done that as well. Never in the field of human conflict has so much been owed by so many to so few. We used that kind of statement, parallel forms of it, with some frequency, and that's what he said about the RAF flyers who were protecting the United Kingdom back in August 1940. So there are many of those around, and of course he was very quick, he was very funny as well, and there are lots of those lines which float about as well and are attributed to him, sometimes when he perhaps didn't even use them because they were so good, everybody assumes they were Churchill.
There's one that gets mangled all the time, Ron, that I particularly like. Yes, ma'am, or yes, madam, I am drunk. You finish it off and tell us how that came about.
Yes, well, he was speaking to a British MP named Bessie Braddock. I think it was back in about I'm not sure that it was in 1945, but in any case, she said, "Winston, you're drunk again." And he said, and you, Bessie, are ugly, and tomorrow morning I shall be sober.
It gets retold and often mangled. Ron, we're looking forward to having you here in Victoria. It is on Saturday, June 12th. It's at the Union Club. We'll put up on the screen in just a moment how you can get more information and get tickets. It promises to be a fascinating evening, and we look forward to seeing you and hearing more about Churchill and your experiences as well. Ron Cohen in Ottawa, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Hudson.